To start off with, we are going to complete a warm-up activity called the Big Reveal, and I'm going to uncover 5 different clues that relate to a well-known business. All you need to do is to identify the name of the business in the fewest number of clues. The clues will get progressively easier, so hopefully by the time I reveal clue number 5, you will have successfully named the business. So clue number 1 is, it was founded in Lithuania in 2008. Clue number 2, it currently operates in 20 plus countries in Europe and North America. Number 3, 105 million people currently use this online platform. Clue number 4, its aim is to make second-hand the first choice worldwide. And clue number 5 is it's a specialist in selling, buying and swapping second-hand wardrobe items. So hopefully you have identified successfully that it is Vinted. So well done if you got the right answer. Our first activity that links directly to Theme 1 content is a series of multiple choice questions. So question 1 is, which one of the following is a financial objective that a business startup may set? So is it A, independence, B, survival, C, challenge, or D, personal satisfaction? And the answer is, of course, B, survival. So well done if you did select B. Now, aims and objectives is a topic area that is often confused by students in terms of successfully categorising which objectives are financial and which are non-financial. So survival is often seen by students as a non-financial objective, and therefore it's very, very important for you to remember it is in fact financial alongside sales, profits and market share. The other 3 on screen are all examples of non-financial objectives. So the next question is asking you for 2 different responses. So the question is, which 2 of the following are examples of quantitative primary market research methods? So A is questionnaire, B is focus group, C, market reports, and D is survey. So it's very important in this question to break it down and make sure you're looking at all elements of the question set. So it's asking you for quantitative primary market research methods. So the 2 responses that are correct are questionnaire and survey. So focus group is a primary market research method, but it is actually a qualitative primary market research method whereby views and detailed opinions can be gained from your sample. Market reports are actually a secondary market research method. Now, when you have a 2-mark multiple choice question in the exam, you will obviously have 5 options to choose from rather than 4. But it's important to remember that if you get one answer correct and the other answer incorrect, you will only lose 1 out of the 2 marks. So it's always important, if you're not sure, to take an educated guess at the time that you are reading the question and always select the appropriate number of responses that the question demands. So question 3 is another 2-mark multiple choice question. So which 2 of the following types of business ownership cannot raise finance through selling shares? So is it A, sole traders, B, PLCs, which is an abbreviation for public limited company, C, LTDs, which is an abbreviation for private limited companies, or D, partnerships? And the answers are sole traders and partnerships. So both of these businesses are unincorporated, they have unlimited liability, whereas PLCs and LTDs have shareholders as owners. With PLCs, shares are sold through a stock exchange to the general public, whereas with private limited companies, shareholders are invited to become owners in this type of business ownership. So this is a different style of multiple choice question. You will not see this style in your exam papers, but they're very, very useful in terms of challenging your understanding of different topic areas. All you need to do is to decide as I read each statement whether the statement is true or false. Once you've made those decisions, marry up your answers with either A, B, C, or D below. So statement 1, the production of a business plan will guarantee success for a new business startup. So is that true or false? Statement 2, a well thought through business plan may help an entrepreneur organise a loan with the bank. So again, is that true or false? Make your decisions and then decide on the letter below. So A, B, C, or D. And the answer is C. So well done if you did select C. Now in statement 1, it is the word guarantee that makes that statement false. Just because an entrepreneur has produced a business plan which details the aims and objectives, there'll be financial or marketing information within the business plan. The business plan will show that the entrepreneur has thought through the business, made sure that nothing is forgotten. It will make sure or help to ensure that the business is well organised in terms of setting up. It will not guarantee success. The entrepreneur will have to keep reviewing the business plan to make sure that the business is on track as to where it thought it should be as the business opens and as it continues to trade. So the plan itself cannot guarantee success. In statement 2, it is true, a bank would like to see a business plan to ensure that if an entrepreneur wanted to take out a bank loan in order to get a business up and running, that it could successfully make any loan repayments with interest, and therefore a business plan would help with that quest. Our last multiple choice question, question 5, is in the same style as question 4. So decide whether each statement is true or false, and then once you've made those decisions, marry up your answers with either A, B, C, or D. So statement 1, limited liability means the personal possessions of shareholders may be taken if the business falls into debt. Statement 2, limited liability will encourage shareholders to invest in limited companies as their risk will be limited to the amount they have invested in the company. So reread each statement if you need to and decide on the option that you think marries up or matches the true and falses that you have decided upon for each statement. And the answer is C. So well done if you did select C. So statement 1, limited liability means the personal possessions of shareholders may be taken if the business falls into debt. Well, that is actually false. Unlimited liability means that personal possessions can be taken, and the businesses that have unlimited liability, remember, are sole traders and partnerships. With limited liability, it will encourage shareholders to invest in limited companies as their risk will be limited to the amount they have invested in the company. That is true. So some shareholders will be attracted to invest in private and public limited companies. Remember, with private limited companies, you have to be invited to become a shareholder, but that will encourage shareholders to invest in these types of businesses because there is no risk that if the business fails, they will not lose their personal possessions. So limited and unlimited liability are often confused by students. So remember, as I said, sole traders and partnerships have unlimited liability. They are unincorporated businesses, which means in the eyes of the law, the business and the owners are seen as the same entity, same thing. Whereas with private and public limited companies, they are incorporated, which means in the eyes of the law, they have a separate legal identity to the owners. Our next activity is our calculation countdown question, and this question is going to be assessing your understanding of percentages. In each paper in the summer, you will be required to complete 4 calculate questions and 1 identify question, because 10% of the marks from each paper have to come from quantitative skills questions. Now, most of the quantitative skills are taught as part of the GCSE Edexcel core content. So, for example, cash flow forecasting or average rate of return will be taught independently as part of the specification. However, there are 3 skills that you must make sure that you practice in preparation for the final exams, because they may not be taught specifically linked to an area of business, and these are averages, percentages and percentage changes. And because students have learnt about these concepts in maths but are not used to applying their understanding of these topic areas to a business context, they often fall down in terms of gaining all the marks for this type of question. So it's important we practice quantitative skills questions linked to these 3 areas. Now, you're going to have a minute to complete this calculate question. But in the exam, if you work to the principle of a minute a mark, you would have 2 minutes to complete each calculate question. So therefore, if you need a little bit longer to fully complete this question that you're going to see in a moment, there is not a problem in terms of your timing. If you're spending 4 or 5 minutes on a calculate question, then it might put pressure on you to complete the paper in its entirety. So the question is, figure 1 shows the market share of 5 businesses that operate in a local market. This year, the total market is valued at £140,000. Next year, the value of the market is expected to rise by 50%. The market share percentage of each business is expected to remain the same across the 2 years. Using the information provided, calculate the value of sales the business with the second highest market share is expected to generate next year. So read the information again carefully, look at the pie chart carefully, and I'll start the timer now, so good luck. Okay, so hopefully you have got an answer. So let's take a look what the actual answer is, and you can compare it with your own. So the answer is £52,500. So let's break down how we got to that figure. So we're looking for the business with the second highest market share. So read, as I mentioned, each question carefully, because lots of students will go automatically to the business with the highest market share. So the business with the second highest market share is business C, which has a market share of 25%. The market size of the business across the years has increased by 50%. So if we multiply 140,000 by 1.5, that will give us the market size for next year of 210,000. So then all we need to do is work out 25%, which is the market share of business C, of 210,000, which is the market size for next year, which then, as I've mentioned, gives you the figure of 52,500. So well done if you did get the correct answer. Our next activity is our definition spinner. It's really, really important that you have a clear understanding of all the different key terms that are mentioned within the specification, because as you write your answers, you'll be able to use these key terms and show the examiner that you have a really strong understanding of the concepts that you've covered throughout your GCSE course. So we've got 6 key terms on screen. You should be able to define all of them, but let's see where our key terms definition spinner land. And it's just kept into dividend. So if you need to, pause the video now and have a think about what a dividend is and which type of businesses may issue a dividend. So a dividend is a share of the profits paid to shareholders as a reward for investing in a limited company. And I've mentioned these limited companies already in this session. So a limited company is either a private limited company or a public limited company with shareholders, as I've mentioned. Dividends are paid in proportion to the number of shares that each shareholder owns. Let's go again with our definition spinner. So let's see where the spinner lands this time. So it's just crept into stakeholder. So if you need to, pause the video now. Think about what the definition is of a stakeholder, perhaps come up with a couple of examples. Think about the objectives of one of those stakeholders and if there's any conflicts that you can think of between different stakeholder groups. So a stakeholder is any individual or organisation that is affected by or affects the activities of a business. A shareholder is an example of a stakeholder, and a shareholder is a part owner or an owner of a private limited or public limited company, but those key terms are often confused by students. Other examples of stakeholders include customers or pressure groups or employees or the local community or the government. In terms of an objective, so an employee, for example, would want good pay, and they'd also want good working conditions, perhaps promotional prospects. And in terms of a conflict, the employees might conflict with the owners because the owners would want high profits, but the employees would want high wages. And if you are paying your employees higher wages, it's going to increase costs. And in theory, in the short term, it's going to reduce profits. So our second calculation countdown question is focusing on the quantitative skill of averages. So you need to be able to interpret information from graphs and charts as part of your GCSE course. So we've got a bar chart here for you to take a look at. And figure 2 shows the volume of sales business A made this year by quarter. And a quarter is just a 3-month period of the year. So you can break down the 12 months, which forms a year, into 4 3-month periods. Using the information in figure 2, calculate the average monthly sales revenue for business A this year if the selling price per unit is £10. So re-look at the graph Reread the question. Your minute starts now. So let's take a look at the answer. Now there's different ways that you can complete this calculation. I'm going to talk you through my method, but if you have the answer of £100,000, then you are correct, regardless of the method that you have used. Now I have added up the number of units that have been sold throughout the year. So across each quarter. So 20,000 plus 25,000 plus 40,000 plus 35,000, which gives us a total number of units sold to be 120,000. Now to work out, the question is asking us for monthly sales revenue, we need to divide that figure by 12 to give us on average how many units have been sold each month, and this equals 10,000 units. To work out revenue, we need to multiply the number of units by the selling price per unit, which is given in the question of £10. So if we multiply £10 by 10,000 units, that will give us an average monthly revenue of £100,000. So well done if you got that answer correct. Now, if you use a different method, as I mentioned, it doesn't matter as long as you have the final answer as the same one as I have. Our last activity is our application spinner, and it is incredibly important in the exams that you are applying your understanding of business theory to the contexts that are given in sections B and C of your paper. So remember, in the exam you're going to be given a source booklet, so you should have those source booklets open at all times when you are completing those two sections. So looking at section B, you're looking at the first extract in that source booklet and making sure every answer is wholly focused on the business that you have just read about. This is very, very important in order to gain the marks for application. So we're going to have a little go at looking at a context in light of an area from theme 1. So our contexts are mobile hairdresser, dry cleaners, fish and chip shop, independent coffee shop, window cleaner and independent grocery store. Remember theme 1, so paper 1, the case studies are going to be based on either business startups or small businesses that operate in a local area, or they can be a little bit bigger and they can operate across the UK, but they will not be international in terms of the size. So it's going to be relatively small businesses, and what, as I mentioned previously, you need to be able to do in the exam is to apply your understanding of business theory successfully to the context that is given. So let's have a look at the context that we are going to be applying the competitive environment to. So it is a fish and chip shop. So what I'd like you to do is think about how a fish and chip shop could compete more effectively against its rivals. So pause the video, think about the different methods, but make sure that you include some context, some really clear context that links specifically to fish and chip shops within your ideas. So pause the video now and then restart the video when you are ready. So let's have a look at our ideas, and then you can compare your ideas to the ones on screen. So the fish and chip shop could increase their product range to include kebabs, pizzas, burgers to attract a wider target market. So the text in green shows specific context. So what we don't want in a response is just to say increase their product range. So you could use a concept called such as seasoning. So you are seasoning your answer. So seasoning is like adding salt and pepper to your dinner. So you're seasoning your answer with context. So you're sprinkling context, so case study information throughout your response. You could offer deals on days with lower footfall. So the footfall is the number of people coming into the shop, such as pie and chips or mini fish and chips deals. So special offers to increase demand on those days to encourage more people to come into the store. It will increase revenue and cash inflows. Possibly offer a free home delivery service within a certain radius of the shop to increase the convenience for customers of buying food from the fish and chip shop rather than using apps such as Just Eat. So we've got lots of different contextualized ideas there. So hopefully you can see this is what you need to be able to do in the exam in order to gain marks for the skill of application.